My name is Nora Ellis. I'm 29, the middle child who learned early that being between often means being optional. If there's a family photo to frame, my sister Victoria is centered in it, and my brother Chase is the punchline everyone adores. I'm the white space around their names. Thursday at 5:42 p.m., my mother sent me a screenshot. She meant to forward a Facebook post my aunt had written, one of those passive-aggressive quotes about loyalty that always arrives dressed like wisdom and smells like smoke. I was at my kitchen table in yesterday's blazer, laptop open to a spreadsheet I'd been pretending to understand, while my cat, Comet, judged me from the chair like a tiny, furry HR rep. Mom's image loaded. It was the wrong crop, top of the screen still visible, a notification banner, a header bar, enough to catch something she didn't mean to show. The real family. That was the name of the group chat she'd taken the screenshot from. My stomach dropped so fast I heard the echo. The letters seemed to pulse. The real family, which implies there's an unreal one. A costume cast. The chat I'm in, the plain family, is apparently the decoy. I stared at it until the edges blurred. Then I did what I always do before I blow up my life. I auditioned other explanations. Maybe it was a joke. Maybe it was for planning surprises. Maybe real meant extended. Then I remembered the 3 consecutive birthdays they forgot. The miscommunication that left me standing on Mom's porch at Thanksgiving with a pumpkin pie in both hands and an empty house behind the door because they'd moved dinner to Victoria's. The Hawaii trip I learned about on Instagram like a fan. I sent the screenshot to Ethan, my boyfriend of 8 months, the one person who texts me without needing something. The 3 dots appeared. Ethan, what am I looking at? Me, my mother's header. The real family. I'm not in it. He called instead of texting. What if it's poorly named? He tried, careful, the way you approach a skittish horse. Ethan always leaves me the dignity of picking my own reaction. If it's planning, why call it real? He didn't answer. The silence said enough. Ethan knows something about weaponized chats. His ex, Lila, used to orchestrate little digital tribunals to make him perform apologies. When he caught the flicker across my face, he reached my hand. Nora, this is cruel, whether they meant it or not. Cruel. I tasted the word. It didn't feel wrong in my mouth. What do you want to do? He asked. I didn't say confront. I didn't say explain. The option that crystallized was colder. I think I want to stop. My voice surprised me. Not forever, just step out. If they've already cut me from the real version, why am I still starring in the knockoff? That's not nuclear, Ethan said softly. That's a boundary. Boundary. A concept I can measure but haven't mastered. Day 1 of silence was almost euphoric. No group chat pings, no headcount requests. I answered emails, ate leftovers, watched Comet plot violence against the ficus. Day 2, the family chat lit up. Victoria assigning side dishes for Sunday dinner like she was chairing a board meeting. Mom posted a turmeric article. Chase lobbed a meme. I observed like I was watching strangers through a window. Day 3, Mom texted separately. Nora, are you coming Sunday? Need a head count. I let it sit there, green and needy. Old Nora would have replied immediately, apologized, offered to bring something gluten-free that no one would eat. New Nora set the phone face down. By day 4, alarms started. You're worrying me. Everything okay? Please reply. Chase sent a GIF with a raccoon wearing sunglasses. Love, but not the kind that keeps you warm. Thursday night, Ethan and I sat under the soft hum of the Thai place near my apartment. The owner knows our order and winks like we have secrets. We do. How's the ghosting? He asked, half teasing, wholly present. Quiet, peaceful. I feel like I took off shoes 2 sizes too small. Sunday's the test. He was right. Sunday is the performance they require, attendance being the price of belonging. I used to pay. On Sunday, I did laundry, took Comet to the vet, made pancakes shaped like hearts because they were easier than making a point. At 2:03 p.m., Mom, dinner's at 5. You're still coming, right? At 3:11 p.m., Mom again, Nora. At 3:28 p.m., Victoria. Are you seriously ghosting Sunday dinner? Rude. At 3:36 p.m., Chase. Yo, sis, you good? I turned off my phone and went to the movies. An explosion flick where the plot is a pretext to burn things down on purpose. I chewed $12 popcorn and felt the sugar of relief on the back of my tongue. When I turned my phone back on, it convulsed. 19 missed calls, 34 texts. Dad even appeared. Call your mother. That old command. I stared at the screen until my reflection steadied. I texted Victoria directly. Me. Which chat are you talking about when you say family? The regular one or the real family? Typing bubbles. Vanish. Return. Then nothing. A minute later, the phone rang. Victoria's name like a siren. What are you talking about? She snapped, skipping hello. The group chat Mom screenshotted from. The real family, the one I'm not in. Silence knifed between us. I pictured her in Mom's kitchen, hand on the counter, eyes narrowing, calculating optics. It's not what you think, she said. Then tell me what it is. It's sometimes we need to talk about family things without, she faltered. Without me? I finished for her. Then why name it real? She exhaled, exasperated. You're being dramatic, Nora. There it was. The family's favorite lullaby. You're dramatic, oversensitive, wrong about your own injuries. I'm being dramatic, I repeated. You have a secret chat for everyone but me, and I'm the exaggeration. It's not secret, she said. It's just for the real family. Your words, not mine. We should talk about this in person. No, I said, coherent and calm in a way that scared even me. You should talk about it with the real family. I hung up before she could repurpose my pain into a lesson. My hands trembled, adrenaline ricocheting with the clean ache that follows a clean cut. Comet headbutted my wrist like, finally. Ethan arrived with takeout and that look he gets when he's ready to build me a fort out of his own bones. I told him about the call. He listened without reaching for the solve. I think I want to keep going, I said into the quiet. No contact, not to punish, to measure. To measure what? Who shows up when they're not rewarded for it? He nodded, eyes soft. I'm here either way, he said. Love, said plainly. No violins. I set my phone face down again. It buzzed like a trapped insect. Mom's heavy knocks, Dad's clipped orders, Victoria's brittle superiorities, Chase's confused emojis, until the noise became abstract. Later, while Ethan washed dishes and I stacked containers, my door camera app blinked a little banner reminding me I still hadn't named my device. Front door flashed and disappeared, a tiny, irrelevant thing. I almost ignored it, then labeled it anyway. A boundary has edges. Sometimes you have to draw the line and also give it a name. I lay in bed and watched the ceiling fan make lazy revolutions. Somewhere across town, a table had a seat without my body in it. The world did not end. But something else did. And in the quiet that followed, I heard something begin. The first week taught me something I should have learned at 12. Silence is not empty, it's full of weather. On Monday, my phone forecasted drizzle. 3, "Are you okay?" texts and a voicemail from Mom that sounded like she'd borrowed a concerned neighbor's voice. Tuesday, thunder rolled in. "This is immature, Nora," from Dad. Wednesday came with a sticky heat of guilt as Victoria wrote a paragraph about family obligations, which somehow put me in charge of her anxiety. By Thursday, the barometer shifted again. Chase texted 5 raccoon gifs in a row like he was coaxing me out from under a porch. I did not reply. I started narrating the inside of my day to myself, like I was checking for cracks. You answered the client email before 10 a.m. You drank water. You ate real lunch. You did not apologize for taking up space. I wrote those sentences on a sticky note and stuck it to my laptop where a motivational quote might go. When the group chat pinged, I looked at the note and let other people's needs pass me like a bus that wasn't mine. Ethan didn't hover. He did little things with a reverence that made me ache, replaced my squeaky cabinet hinge, returned with a spare packet of my favorite tea, forwarded me a meme about boundaries are fences with gates, not walls. I saved it. That night he cooked pasta and let me salt it until it tasted like the ocean. I told him about the sticky note. He grinned. Write one that says, "You don't need a committee vote to be worth dinner." On Friday, Mom's text arrived at 8:01 a.m. I made a mistake with that screenshot. You're making it bigger than it needs to be. The pivot from concern to complaint was so fast it left skid marks. I typed 3 replies I didn't send. 1. You named it real. 2. You forgot me for years. 3. You don't get to scale my injury. I deleted them all and put the phone face down under a folded dish towel, the closest I've ever come to burying something alive. At work, my attention returned to me in measurable increments. I answered 3 tough tickets in a row and didn't need a recovery snack. My manager pinged me, "Nice save," on a thread that usually goes to Victoria in our family chat. Different Victoria, same constellation of competence and credit. This time, the compliment found my bones. It stayed. Ethan's parents invited us over for Sunday lunch if you're free, which was their way of saying, "We will not demand your presence, but we'll set a table like hope." I hesitated. Accepting their warmth felt like cheating on a test I hadn't studied for. Embarrassing, only if I believed the test mattered. "We can say no," Ethan said quickly, reading the wobble in my face. "I want to say yes," I said. "I'm just not used to yes being safe." His mom, Min, talks with her hands and piles food the way some people pile blankets when guests look cold. She remembered I liked the crispy edge of the kimchi pancake and rotated the plate so the dark corner faced me. Ethan's dad, Jin, asked about my work and waited for my actual answer instead of the summary I give people who ask as a throat clearing. At the end, Min wrapped leftovers for your Monday slump. The bag felt heavier than its weight. "It's weird," I told Ethan in the car. "It hurts more when people are kind." "Because you finally feel what was missing," he said gently. Back home, the family chat flared with preparations for the upcoming Thanksgiving, the big seasonal performance. The words scrolled by, like a timeline I was no longer on. Tablecloths, who's bringing yams, football kickoff, extra chairs. I was present only in the negative space of my absence. I could feel Mom's mind, casting around the kitchen, counting plates the way she used to count my flaws. Wednesday night, Chase bypassed the group and called directly. I declined. He tried again. Declined. The third time, I let it ring while I watched his name flash against my screen like a heartbeat I wasn't ready to trust. He shifted to text. "If I promise not to be annoying, will you pick up?" Ethan watched me read it twice. "You can answer and still have a boundary," he said. "Answering isn't capitulation, it's a measurement." I picked up on the fourth ring. "Hey," I said, holding my breath like it would keep anything from spilling. "Hey," Chase said, too bright. He's 25 and owns 3 hoodies that look like they have stories. "So, you alive?" "Evidence suggests." He laughed, then sobered. "Look, Mom's spiraling. Dad's, Dad. V's in project manager mode. Just, what's the deal?" "The deal," I said slowly, "is that I saw something I cannot unsee. The real family. I'm not in it, and I am done auditioning for a role I was never going to get." Chase went quiet. I imagined him flopped across his couch, the ceiling fan spinning like clock hands he couldn't read. "It's not," he started. "Please don't say it's not what you think." He exhaled. "Sometimes it's planning, like if we want to, I don't know, talk about birthdays, or Mom's stress, or Dad's mood. It's just easier." "Easier than including me," I said. "Easier than naming the thing you're excluding me from. And the name, Chase, you called it real. That wasn't an accident. That was an editorial decision." He made a wounded sound. "I didn't name it." "Did you leave it?" He didn't answer. He didn't have to. We both knew the gravity of belonging. It pulls, it excuses, it hums with the soft reward of being inside. "Mom's gonna ask if you'll come for Thanksgiving anyway," he said finally, voice small, "just to keep the peace." "I don't know what you think peace is, but I've never met it at our table," I said. "I'm going somewhere I won't be graded." "Nora." "I love you," I said, startling myself with the truth of it. "You're funny and careless and not cruel on purpose, but you live in a house where my hurt is a scheduling conflict. I can't keep entering through the side door and pretending I don't know where the real living room is." He was quiet so long I checked if the call dropped. "Okay," he said, voice thick. "Okay." After, I sat cross-legged on the floor and let my body shake where no one had to steady me but me. Ethan lowered himself beside me, back to the couch, shoulder to mine. "I sounded mean," I said into the space between us. "You sounded honest," he said. "It's new. It can feel sharp. Doesn't mean you cut wrong." Thursday before Thanksgiving, Mom texted, "I need to know what pie you're bringing." The assumption in that line was almost elegant. I didn't answer. She called. I let it ring until voicemail kicked in. "Nora, I don't know what's gotten into you. We're family. We deal with issues together. You're making me look like a bad mother to your aunt. Please stop this." The plea embedded in the performance slid off me, unwilling to stick in a place I'd finally cleaned. I set my phone to Do Not Disturb and started a grocery list that contained only things that made me feel held. Mushrooms for a buttery skillet, the expensive bread, the tiny olives that pop like punctuation. That night, Ethan and I built a cardboard box fort for Comet. We cut windows. We labeled them like everything else in the apartment: Comet's office and HR department. Comet inspected our work, sat in the doorframe, and decided to keep us. Maybe it's that simple. Who do you keep and who keeps you? And how do you know the difference between keeping and cage? The morning of Thanksgiving, sunlight made my tiny kitchen look like it had been forgiven. Min texted me a picture of a turkey wearing sunglasses and the caption, "We have too much food. Please save us from leftovers." I laughed and sent a selfie of me in a ridiculous apron Ethan bought that says, "Shafish." I looked happier than the version of me who used to show up at Mom's door with pie and a practiced smile. At 11 a.m., Dad called from the house line. The ringtone I assigned him years ago, one I thought sounded authoritative, now struck me as ridiculous. I watched it buzz out on the counter, my name no longer a summons he could tap. Ethan squeezed my shoulder. "You ready?" "I am," I said. I meant for lunch. And also for whatever comes after deciding to be real when your family prefers you edited. Min's living room smelled like garlic and orange peel. Everyone made space the moment we walked in. Literal space on the couch. Calibrated space in the conversation. Ethan's sister asked if I'd tried the roasted persimmons. His little nephew pressed a crayon into my hand like a treaty. When plates went around, nobody tallied who brought what before they passed me the good spoon. Between bites, emotion marched up my throat like a small army. I excused myself to the bathroom, locked the door, and let my face crumple. It wasn't sadness, not exactly. It was grief for the way I'd learned to accept crumbs and call it a meal. When I came out, Min didn't say anything about my eyes. She just put a bowl of soup into my hands like a story without a moral. I drank it to the bottom. We drove home in the blue hour, full in a way that had nothing to do with food. My phone had 6 missed calls from Mom, 2 from Dad, and a flurry from Victoria that started as commands and softened into guilt. I turned the screen off and placed the phone gently in a drawer, not as punishment, but as storage. The house got quiet enough to hear Comet snoring in his cardboard office. That night, I opened my journal and wrote, "Relatives share DNA. Family shares chairs. Real is who shows up." Then, almost joking, almost not, I added, "Remember to rename the door camera. The line has a name." When I slept, I dreamed I was in a room with 2 doors. One was labeled Real Family and the other was blank. I took out a pen and wrote mine. In the morning, the dream still fit, and the door I walked through opened from my side. Thanksgiving morning used to mean panic. Mom barking orders like she was running a military operation. Dad fiddling with the TV to make sure the football game came on. Victoria arranging table settings from her Pinterest board, and Chase disappearing conveniently until the heavy lifting was done. My job? Whatever was left. Optional tasks, Mom used to call them. Fetch the ice, wipe the counters, entertain the cousins. Optional child. Optional role. This year, I woke up late to the smell of coffee Ethan had already brewed. No alarms, no group chat pings demanding pies, no aunt passive-aggressively posting about gratitude while side-eyeing me. Just my apartment, my cat, my boyfriend, and a silence so thick it felt padded. "You sure you're okay with skipping it?" Ethan asked, placing a mug in front of me. He'd asked in 5 different ways all week, as if he wanted to give me permission every time I faltered. "I'm not skipping," I said. "I'm trading." "For?" "For a table that doesn't grade me on arrival." He smiled but didn't push. That's what I love about Ethan. He lets my answers stand, even when they come out half-formed. By noon, we were at his parents' house. Warmth hit me before the food did. Min opened the door in an apron dusted with flour, and instead of asking where my dish was, she hugged me like I'd been missing, not derelict. Jin lifted a glass toward me. "We saved your seat," he said, like I'd always had one. It was messy in ways my family never allowed. Dishes were mismatched, cousins interrupted each other, someone spilled cider and nobody yelled. I kept waiting for the critique, "That's too much salt, you're cutting wrong, lower your voice," but it never came. Instead, Ethan's little niece climbed into my lap with a picture book and announced, "You're my seat now." I laughed. My throat burned. It wasn't sadness exactly. It was muscle memory, realizing it had been starved. Later, when Min caught me staring at the table too long, She put her hand on mine. Eat, Nora. No one's keeping score. I excused myself to the bathroom and cried quietly into the hand towel. Relief can look a lot like grief when you finally feel what you've been missing. Meanwhile, my phone was vibrating in my purse like a trapped insect. I didn't check it until Ethan and I were back home, Comet twining around my legs like a shadow. 37 messages, 12 missed calls. Mom first. Dinner's at 5. Where are you? This isn't funny. Then Victoria. You're embarrassing Mom. Stop this stunt. Come now. Dad. Family doesn't do this, Nora. You don't ghost Thanksgiving. Chase. Gentler. Sis, just come. Don't make it worse. The words scrolled by like closed captions to a play I was no longer in. I set the phone on the counter, face down, and made tea. By Sunday, the chatter had hardened into accusation. Victoria texted, "Grow up. You're making yourself the victim again." Dad left a voicemail. "This is childish. You're hurting your mother." Mom's tone shifted from pleading to martyrdom. "You're punishing us. Why are you so cruel?" Cruel. That word again. The family had weaponized it, twisting it like a knife. But sitting in my apartment, wrapped in Ethan's hoodie, I realized cruelty wasn't silence. Cruelty was teaching someone that their voice never counted, then getting angry when they stopped using it. Monday morning, I opened my journal, wrote one sentence in heavy ink. Not cruel. Clear. Ethan peeked over my shoulder, kissed my temple. "That's better than a sticky note," he said. That week, something shifted inside me. Work emails felt lighter. Food tasted sharper. Sleep came easier. My body didn't brace for the constant ping of expectation. My mother's absence in my notifications became proof, not punishment. Still, I knew a storm was coming. The texts slowed, but the silences were loaded. Thanksgiving had been the first open wound. Christmas would be salt in it. One night, while Ethan and I decorated our tiny fake tree, he asked, "Do you think they'll show up? At my door?" "Yeah." "They don't have the building code," I said, stringing lights like armor. "They've never asked." "That's sad." "That's the point." Still, when the camera app on my phone blinked its little alert, front door device ready, I felt something tighten in my chest. For the first time, I was grateful for that lens watching my threshold. Christmas was 3 weeks away. My family was already panicking in group messages I wasn't answering. Meanwhile, Ethan's mom was asking what pie I liked best so she could make two. 2 pies. One for certainty, one for choice. It hit me like a revelation. Real family makes room, not rules. I stared at the glowing tree in my living room, Comet curled underneath it like a gift. For the first time in years, I didn't feel like the optional piece in someone else's puzzle. I felt like I'd finally found my own table, and this time, I wasn't giving up my seat. December moved like a slow avalanche. My family's texts became fewer but sharper, condensed into barbs they thought could hook me. "You're breaking Mom's heart. Dad says this is unacceptable. Do you ever think about anyone but yourself?" I read them the way you read junk mail. Skim, wince, discard. For the first time, I felt like the choice wasn't between belonging and exile. It was between my old role, the apologetic extra in someone else's play, or the lead in my own story. Ethan made it easier. He didn't fix my family for me. He just made sure I remembered I had one already. One night, walking through the holiday lights strung across the botanical gardens, he stopped mid-path. Snow dusted his hair, catching on his lashes like sugar. "Nora," he said, voice unsteady. "I don't know how to make this grand. I just know I want this forever. The lights, the leftovers, your sticky notes, all of it. Will you marry me?" There was no violin swell, no audience, just us and the hum of winter air. I said yes before he finished the question. Yes, like an exhale I'd been holding since childhood. We set the wedding for February 14th. Cheesy maybe, but fitting. Our rebellion wrapped in red and white. 30 guests, a small venue, nothing grand. His parents cried when we told them. My parents weren't on the list. "Do you want to invite them?" Ethan asked gently one night while we scribbled names on a notepad. Part of me wanted to say yes, just to avoid hearing petty or vindictive, whispered like curses. But the bigger part of me, newer, stronger, knew better. "They excluded me from the real family," I said. "I'm allowed to exclude them from my real wedding." Ethan kissed my knuckles like it was settled. 2 weeks before the wedding, curiosity gnawed. I unblocked their numbers, just to see if they'd noticed. My phone convulsed with 43 messages and 17 missed calls, most from Mom. They stretched across weeks like breadcrumb trails of desperation. It's Christmas. We need to talk. Please, Nora. Whatever we did, I'm sorry. Family forgives. Don't be cruel. I scrolled until my thumb ached, then blocked them again. I told Ethan. Do you feel guilty? He asked. A little, I admitted, but not enough to change anything. Good, he said. That's the right ratio. On the morning of our wedding, I stood in a white dress that wasn't extravagant but felt like armor. The mirror reflected someone I almost didn't recognize, me, unshrunk. Ethan squeezed my hand before we walked down the aisle. Ready? More than ready, I said. The ceremony was perfect in its simplicity. Vows spoken softly, friends smiling like they believed in us, Min wiping her eyes with the corner of her apron. When I said, family is who shows up, I felt the air shift, like the universe finally underlined my sentence. The reception was winding down, people dancing badly, laughter spilling into corners, when my phone buzzed on the table where I'd left it. Ethan picked it up first. His face changed. Nora, he said carefully, you need to see this. It was the notification from my door camera, a live feed. My entire family, Mom, Dad, Victoria, and Chase, were at my apartment door, knocking, waiting. The timestamp said now. I watched in real time as Mom tried the knob, Dad paced, Victoria checked her phone like she was writing a battle report, and Chase sat on the floor with his back to the wall, head tilted like defeat. They came during the wedding? I whispered. Ethan touched my arm. What do you want to do? The room around me was full of people who had shown up. Our friends, his family, my real family. On the screen were the people who only remembered me when I refused to play my role. Nothing, I said finally, voice steady. I want to do absolutely nothing. The camera showed them knocking again, waiting. But this time, the door wasn't mine to open. The next morning, we boarded a 14-hour flight to Bali. Newlyweds, exhausted, buzzing on adrenaline. Ethan fell asleep against my shoulder before the seatbelt light went off. But I sat awake, phone in hand, replaying the footage from our door camera. 47 minutes, that's how long they stayed. Mom knocking in intervals that sounded like disappointment even through a screen. Dad pacing, checking his watch, as though I owed him a schedule. Victoria whispering, clearly reporting back to someone, probably the real family chat. And Chase, slouched against the hallway wall, eyes fixed on the floor. They had always assumed I would open. That was my role, the one who accommodated, the one who bent. When the footage ended, Mom turned once more toward the door, as if expecting me to materialize. She left empty-handed. I saved the video, not as evidence, but as closure. Then I turned off notifications. Bali was everything the word escape promises. An infinity pool where the horizon swallowed us. Sunsets so bright they looked painted. Ethan smiling at me across a beach dinner, his expression the opposite of conditional. For 3 days, I pretended the only family I had was the one we were building. On the third evening, we sat in the sand, toes buried, watching the sky burn orange. Ethan asked, "Do you regret not telling them?" "No," I said. It surprised me how quickly the answer came. "Do you think you should?" "I think I made the right choice, for me. That's what matters." My phone buzzed when I switched off airplane mode to post a photo. Messages flooded in, weeks old but freshly delivered. "Mom. Nora, where are you? We came to your apartment on Christmas. You weren't there." Victoria. "This is ridiculous. You need to talk to us." Dad. "We've been patient. This ends now. Call your mother." Chase. "We drove 2 hours to see you. Where were you? Please just talk." Ethan watched me scroll, his face unreadable. "What are you going to do?" he asked. I typed slowly, deliberately, into the family chat. The fake one. The one I'd never left. "I got married. I'm on my honeymoon. I'm happy. That's all you need to know." I hit send. Then I turned the phone off and buried it in the bottom of my bag. "Feel good?" Ethan asked. "Better than good," I said. "I feel free." When we landed back home 2 weeks later, curiosity pried me into checking the fallout. "Mom, you got married? To who? When? Why weren't we invited?" Victoria. "This is insane. You got married without telling us. How could you?" Dad. "Unacceptable. We're coming over. We need to talk." Chase. "Congrats, sis. Wish I could have been there." That last one made me pause, but not enough to answer. There was also a voicemail from Mom, her voice raw with disbelief. "We love you, Nora. Whatever we did, I'm sorry. Please talk to us. Please." Ethan listened with me. Do you feel guilty? He asked again. A little, I admitted, tears burning, but not enough to open the door. Good, he said firmly. I deleted the voicemail. Then I blocked every number, this time not as a test, but as a verdict. The door at my apartment stayed closed, and for the first time, I believed it always would. Spring folded into summer, and silence became my new inheritance. No buzzing phone, no guilt disguised as tradition. Just the rhythm of a life Ethan and I were building, brick by brick, Sunday by Sunday. His family had more or less adopted me. Min sent me recipes and texts labeled, "For when you're tired but still want to eat well." Jin asked about my projects at work like they mattered. Ethan's sister slipped me into her group chat without ceremony. No real label, no hierarchy, just Sibs plus Nora, like I had always been there. Meanwhile, my biological family tried to creep back in. A card in the mail, returned unopened. A Facebook message from Victoria, ignored. An email from Dad I deleted unread. They were like shadows tapping on the window of a house I no longer lived in. But one day in early summer, Ethan's mom pulled me aside after dinner. She looked almost nervous. "Your mother called me," she said. I nearly dropped my plate. "What?" "She somehow found our number, asked if you were okay, said she just wanted to fix things." "What did you tell her?" I asked, my voice sharper than I meant. "That you're happy, that you have a good life, that maybe the best thing she could do was accept that you've moved on." Min's eyes softened. She cried, paid for her groceries, left. I sat with that, a mixture of sympathy and vindication swirling inside me like storm clouds. My mother was crying in checkout lines to strangers, but she hadn't once shown up when I was hungry for love. Weeks later, Chase slipped through with a text from a new number I hadn't blocked yet. "Hey, I know you probably won't read this, but I get it now. It took me a while, but I understand why you left. Victoria told me about the real family chat. I didn't realize how messed up that was until I thought about it from your side. I'm sorry I didn't notice sooner. You deserve better. I hope you're happy. You were always the coolest sister, even when I was too dumb to say it." I showed Ethan. "Do you think he means it?" "Does it matter?" he asked gently. "Kind of," I typed back, hands trembling. "Thanks for this. I appreciate it. I'm good. Married, happy, living well. Maybe someday we can grab coffee, but not now. I'm not ready." His reply came almost immediately. "Whenever you're ready, or never. Just know the option's there." I saved that message. For the first time, a door didn't feel like a trap. It felt like a gate I could choose to open someday, or not. Now, our Sundays belong to us. Sometimes it's just Ethan, me, and Comet perched like a king on the couch. Sometimes it's Min and Jin, or Ethan's siblings, or friends who've become cousins in practice, if not blood. We eat too much, laugh too loudly, and nobody tallies who brought what before passing the good spoon. Do I think about my biological family? Sometimes. I wonder if they're still using the real family chat, if my absence still echoes, or if they've simply rearranged the table without me. But mostly, I don't think about them at all. Because I learned something essential. You can't force people to value you. You can't beg them to see your worth. All you can do is stop auditioning for a part they'll never cast you in, and start writing your own role. I did. I built a real family, the kind that doesn't need a group chat to prove it.